So COVID has been one of the worst things that have happened in the to the planet over the past decade, especially to humanity. But COVID is making a resurgence because of the Delta variant, which is even worse than the original one. But but there's a lot of countries that have always been highly infected by COVID. You usually hear about the most affected countries by COVID, and you usually hear America at the top of the list, and Brazil and India. But that isn't actually true, because if you go by population, usually the most populated countries would be at the top. And that's kind of unfair to say a country of 300 million versus a country of, like, let's just say 1 million. But 1 million has more cases per person. So we're doing the worst affected countries by COVID 19. And yes, we're including sovereign countries. So sorry, Gibraltar, despite you being on this list, you will not be in this video. Number 10, Uruguay. Uruguay was doing pretty well with COVID 19 cases for the longest time. But Uruguay's COVID has gotten worse over time, especially more recently. Out of the Latin American countries, they did the best for the longest of times. They had very little cases compared to Brazil, compared to Colombia, compared to Peru and Argentina. But around the end of the year, and especially throughout 2021, they had extremely bad COVID wave. Actually, two. One pretty bad one, and then just the worst COVID wave, which makes them number 10 on this list. Uruguay has around, I believe, has around 3.4 million people. So it isn't exactly a very populated country. You're not going to see any hugely populated countries on the list, so no America or Brazil. America has passed 100,000 cases per capita, but Uruguay currently sits at 109,216 cases per capita. That is a lot for one country. It is the most infected country in South America. Number 9, Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a small country in Europe, a very wealthy country. Luxembourg is one of the worst infected countries in the world. Luxembourg only has 73,000 cases, but you realize that Luxembourg has a population of only 646,000. That is a lot of cases for a country around that many people. Luxembourg has one of the highest cases per capita in the world. Luxembourg has a whopping 115,629 cases per capita. Number 8, Slovenia. Slovenia is another very small country in the world. Slovenia is, they had the European second wave has done it's why there's a lot of European countries on this list. Slovenia is another one of those countries that has recovered from the worst COVID waves, starting the course in October, like Luxembourg and other countries. But Slovenia wasn't really that badly infected until the European second wave, and it affected basically Europe all equally. Slovenia has a COVID per capita rate of 124,459 cases per 1 million people, making it the 8th, which basically means around 12% of the population has had COVID 19, at least according to official data. Number 7, Maldives. Maldives is the first country in Asia. And I believe it's not the last country in Asia. There is one more country that is on this list as well. Maldives is basically an island country, and basically relies heavily on tourism. But Maldives has it unlucky. Maldives is a not very too populated country. Slovenia, the last country on this list, had 2 million people, but it is the least populated country on this list so far, only having a population of 550,000. Maldives currently has a pace per capita count of 149,738 cases per 1 million people, which means 13% of the population is, I believe, infected. Well, I think it's actually 1.3% of the population is infected. No, it's 14% of the population. So 14% of the Maldivian population has had COVID-19. Number 6, San Marino. San Marino, I believe, is the smallest country on the list. San Marino it again is on both lists of deaths per capita and cases per capita. The microstates have not really had it well. Small countries have disproportionate cases per capita. San Marino is the smallest country, having 34,000 people. If it includes Gibraltar, it is not the smallest place, but Gibraltar is not a sovereign nation. San Marino is the first country with over 150,000 cases per capita, which means 15% of San Marinans have had COVID-19. That is a lot of people having the disease, basically. The cases per capita is 150,851 for San Marino. Number 5. Bahrain. Bahrain is the last Asian country on the list. Bahrain is a nation in the Middle East. And out of all the Middle Eastern countries, Bahrain has fared the worst. Especially, Bahrain has a country of 1.7 million. And they have a case per capita count of 152,310 per capita. Bahrain again is a country in the Middle East by Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and they're the most infected country in Asia. Number 4. This country made it on both lists, and it's no surprise. The Czech Republic. Czech Republic has around basically 1.6 million cases, which amounts to 155,000 cases, 893 per capita. Yep, one of the most infected countries in the world. Czech Republic has a population of 10.7 million and is one of the most infected countries in the world. It is actually the smallest country in the world to have over a million. Actually, I think it's Sweden has a small population. So I gotta check which one. Does Sweden have a more small population? Yeah, Sweden has a small population than the Czech Republic. So it isn't the smallest country. And Sweden did not make this list either. But Sweden is starting to catch up with the rest. is starting to catch up to Uruguay on the list. But Czech Republic is one of the worst infected countries. They have basically defeated COVID, but it's starting to resurge because of Delta. But it has not really taken off, unlike every other country. Kind of like it in the early days. But again, with the second wave of COVID, it basically failed abysmally. It had 3 massive waves of COVID, which are all very bad. Number 3, Montenegro. Montenegro is a very small country. No wonder why it's on this list. Montenegro is a country of a population similar to Luxembourg. Both countries basically have a very similar population, with Montenegro having a population of 628,000, and they're also having a resurgence in cases. So we're going to see how that goes about. But Montenegro is currently the 3rd most infected country, with a staggering 161,350 cases per capita. Yep, that's one of the worst infected. It also is on the deaths list as well, one of the highest in terms of deaths per capita. Number 2, this is actually the only country in Africa to be on this list, and that is the Seychelles. Seychelles is the 2nd most infected country in the world. Yep, Seychelles, 2nd most infected country in the world. You might say, that might not seem that bad, looking at this graph, but Seychelles has a population of around 77,000. And it is quickly catching up to the number 1 country on this list. Seychelles has a staggering cases per 1 million population of 182,448. And the scary part about the Seychelles COVID is that most of Seychelles population is vaccinated. So the vaccines must not be working or something, because it is one of the most infected countries in the world. And the number 1 most infected country has actually stayed the most infected country ever since the European second wave has started, and that is Andorra. Andorra is a microstate, and basically, places with small populations tend to be affected worse. Or actually, Seychelles has 100,000 people, basically. Andorra is the one that has 37,000 people. Andorra is the most infected country in the world, by a short margin. 188,457 cases per 1 million people. Whoa. And you may look at, Andorra is doing so great against the United States, but Andorra has a population of around 37,000. And where does America rank? Well, they rank 16th on the list. If you exclude Aruba and Gibraltar, they would be 14th, being of course still behind Argentina, Netherlands, and Sweden, which are number 11, number 12, and number 13th. USA is actually number 14th, if you exclude Gibraltar and, of course, Aruba, which are non-sovereign countries but are included anyways, because they are, basically. And there are some countries that are catching up on this list. Countries like Georgia, places in Latin America are especially catching up as well. And lots of other places are actually catching up with the rest of the world, especially Latin America being catching up as well. So yep, that's basically it. And there are some countries that are doing well against COVID, but not many really anymore. Even the countries that claim to have done best have seen a resurgence in cases. For example, Vietnam. Vietnam used to be one of the least infected countries in the world, but they have risen up massively in COVID cases. So even if you have one of the world's COVID cases counts in the world, such as Thailand for a while, and Vietnam, doesn't mean you can still have a second wave of COVID that can absolutely decimate your nation. The least infected country in the world is Tanzania, but they don't really count because they refuse to test their citizens ever since May of 2021 because they did not believe COVID-19 existed. Yep, even though 509 people in Tanzania tested positive, the government really said, you know what, F this, we're out. The least infected country in the world is Micronesia, but actually it would probably be a country like the Kiribati, which has around like one case. For some reason, they refused to add countries like Kiribati, Palau, and Cook Islands to the list, despite them actually reporting cases. But they don't have enough cases to reach this list anyways. So that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.